flag, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Melissa, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Henry?
Here.
Mr. Ellison?
Here.
Mr. Weasel?
Here.
Mr. Blau?
Here.
Mr. Strange?
Here. Okay. I will entertain a motion for the minutes from the December 16th meeting.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay. This is the time for the swearing-in ceremony. Is your brother?
We have a better substitute. We have the better half of the district court.
Okay. Okay. We have Judge Aaron Sizemore here to do the swearing-in, so please join us.
How do you normally do? Your name seated?
I think they're all.
Everybody get up there.
Thank you for bringing that, because I just remembered. Oh no, I didn't bring it. Look
at you. If the camera tells me anything about you, it's you're prepared. Yeah, overly maybe. Yes.
Everyone? When you're ready, go ahead and raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this Commonwealth, and be faithful and true to the Commonwealth of Kentucky so long as you continue a citizen thereof, and that you will faithfully execute to the best of your ability the office of Fort Thomas City Council Member according to law. And do you also solemnly swear or affirm that since the adoption of the present Constitution, that you being a citizen of this state, have not fought a duel with deadly weapons within this state nor out of it, nor have you sent or accepted a challenge to fight a duel with deadly weapons, nor have you acted as second in carrying a challenge, nor aided or assisted any person thus offending, so help you God.
I do. I don't want to speak for everybody. I can't share that last one, a couple of them. But, yeah.
Congratulations.
I was thinking.
Fives. Go out and high fives.
If anybody wants to see a family picture, I know you guys
Yeah,
did
definitely
this
with
2 years
Bobo.
ago, but.
Yeah. I don't with me because he has it in the
Yeah, you into it.
When I went there with my daughters, and one of them said, "I don't think I could be a judge. I taught a lot of those with my sister."
You just see how you guys are the second one every year.
Yeah. Hey.
Right here. Yep, over here.
Oh, say cheese.
Say cheese.
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you.
Want to get your picture?
Yeah, why doesn't everybody come out and
Group
get a
picture.
picture?
Yeah, do
Yeah,
a group.
I'll send it to you again. Cool.
I'll get in it too.
I know.
Even though I wasn't sworn in.
I know.
Yeah.
Guess what? We're gonna go over. We're gonna watch it.
Lauren decided to work. Possible good. So, you sound
Well,
it's just.
What the group?
You guys
You got the right
you
side?
guys find a
This
comment.
is the right side? Okay,
Here,
just making sure. Well, she started to come over to this side, she hesitated, we're like, why are you hesitating to stay on this side? I'm like, she has the one side. Yeah, I get it. I know now. Thank you. We got another one. Can I hold your baby? I got
Yeah. Do a champagne bottle against a ship.
I didn't recite the whole thing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Luke's coming from Candy County Cardinals.
I got the book
Yours
with
better
me.
than the first one.
I remember that.
Looking forward to it.
Even your mom, she remembers.
I'm gonna sneak out.
Thank you. Thanks, Erin.
Have a good night. I know you too. You do.
Step chalk.
No way.
So maybe it's gonna be just gonna get you. Want me to carry you? Anybody want him?
I'd like to talk about a couple of things that were brought up in the past, just follow up on that, and then talk about a little bit about the process going forward. So, from the past standpoint, we had talked about possibly looking at doing an audit of One Highland from
Daddy hug.
acquisition of property onto the present. We talked about that a couple of times, and it was in process, so I was just curious to follow up on that status.
Yeah, well, now that the UDO was passed, that's gonna be the focus here the next 3 months to finish up. And we've already done the financial part of it, but like we've had, and then, we're just looking to do the rest of it and to send out to council.
Okay, so will that be an independent?
No.
Process? No, okay. Okay, so, we also talked about the fact that, accusation was made relative to an elected official, and I was just curious, following up on the status of that.
Still no, ethics violation filed.
Okay, and is that what it takes to do something? Okay. Also, following up on the One Highland and the fact that sales aren't robust, and you had a number of different organizations that had a hand in establishing price. Have we followed up with any of those?
No.
Market Foresight or
Nope.
Bond
There's
Trustee?
sold, there's 6 sold right now, but that's,
Oh, is there? Okay.
3 more was sold the last month.
So would we probably use the same process going forward if that were to arise in another situation?
Say that.
Would we use the same team or the same group in the future for pricing and establishing?
The same developer,
Not developer, but as much as the same team for establishing.
that's all the developer. We didn't have a team that we had assigned the price for that. That's the developer that would put the sales price on.
And then as far as when somebody's added to one of the boards and put on the board, what's the process around that and how does that flow normally?
Just for like
design
planning commission,
people.
design review board.
Yeah.
When we have a list that we put out publicly or, kind of put on the website and trying to get applications. So we still have that group for most boards. And then if we don't have any left, then we'll advertise it again. We'll at least advertise it every year.
It goes out as an advertisement and
Just-
and how do you do it? Do you-
Not by KRS, but an advertisement
Yeah.
we do, Facebook and website and things like that.
And how do you vet them? I mean, what's the
We interview
process?
We interview them, and then we meet with the staff, vets them, and then we meet with the mayor and get his final approval, and then we present it
But
to
you do
council.
interview them? Okay. All right.
I'd like to follow up on that real quick. I've been thinking about this lately in the board process for all the boards. And I realize that the selection comes from you guys, but then the appointment has to come from us, correct? Like, we're the ones that
The mayor,
approves.
the mayor appoints, you approve.
Okay, so if we approve though, we could disapprove that hire, right? So technically he appoints and then it's our decision to put the person on or off the board, right? Why aren't we more involved in that process from the beginning?
KRS 83A lays it out, that
I mean, do they
the
say
mayor's
that-
the point, and then you guys
Approve, but
approve.
we could tighten those standards, right? We don't have to lose them. I mean, if we're gonna, if we have to.
It's again, it's executive branch versus the legislative branch. And
Yeah.
when you start doing that, what's the point of the executive branch if you guys are vetting?
Well, I always thought that the purpose of legislative body executive branch is to balance power, to make sure there's not one person that we don't get a Caesar. or dictator, so that's why we approve it. So, but if we're not part of the process from the beginning, you know, I'm just asking questions.
No, I know.
I mean, like when you were hired, right? There was a couple council members that went through the process, right? But nobody else was, not us, but so I was not involved in that, so why not have them involved when it comes to the boards? Since we're the ones who technically approve them.
Typically, the executive function just does that. It goes out, it does the scouring and trying to ascertain a list of folks who might be viable candidates. Then they send it to you guys, they bring it forward for approval.
They bring one person for approval,
And
though.
you have the opportunity to say no.
But it has happened, you know what I mean, like behind the scenes typically before it gets to us. You know what I mean? So I just thought it would be, how does everybody else feel about that? I mean,
I would say, just hearing you talk about it, well, like, if you're gonna vote no against somebody, like why would I vote no for somebody when I'm looking at obviously a good resume, unless I saw the other people's resumes that were being picked from. What I'm saying is why shouldn't we just tighten it up and not vote at all if our vote isn't part of the
process. You know, maybe, it's not that maybe,
I don't know why we vote, or should we just vote no on it?
well, I'm just saying, what I'm suggesting is that, you know, maybe we get the information prior to see if there's anything before we actually, the final decision's made.
And we can share, you know, the top 3 resumes, so it's still gonna be an appointment. I mean, it's still.
And I think that's the way it should be.
Yeah, and I'm just saying because the last 2 times, you know, I called you and talked to you about someone and I don't want it to get ahead, because there's maybe, you know, always 7 heads are better than 1, you know what I mean, on the whole room together. Obviously, when we talked last time, some things do slip through the cracks sometimes, and it'd be nice if we know something about someone. I just thought that'd be nice.
Just to clarify what I was just thinking of, because I just did, but if you have, like, I find it very hard that somebody that is appointed is gonna get a no vote from any of us. But it would be nice to at least see, I mean, who's, you know, just have an idea, a better picture, than just automatically voting yes.
I just want to make sure, Matt, that what we're talking about at most is providing them with the resumes, but still having an appointment.
Correct.
It's not
Yeah, we
giving
would-
them 3 people to choose.
Correct, yeah. We
Is
would.
that what?
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Well, and separate from all that, I would like to, whoever's being appointed, have that information a little bit earlier.
Yeah, and that was the goal. This latest one is, they resigned. But yeah, that was the goal, is to give you guys at least 60, 90 days ahead, when we have the scheduled.
Right,
placements.
so that we can look over it and talk to the individual, reach out if we want to.
Yeah, I might have said that for a long
That
time.
is the goal.
I like to reach out to them, talk to them, say hi, get to know them, make sure that I feel comfortable with them, because at the end of the day, it is our decision. So, you know what I mean, and like I said, I have caught ones before in the past that things have slipped through, haven't had misinformation on them. I'm just saying, you know, I believe there's a lot of things that are executive branch, but I believe that there's 2 bodies for a reason, that's a balance. So.
Yep. I get it. Thanks all. Yep. Thank you.
All right, we are down to reports of officers. Fire department report. Chief.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So I just completed my monthly report today when we came back from the office. So for the month of December, the fire department responded to 66 fire incidents and 141 EMS incidents for a total of 201. It was our second busiest month of the year. That put us over, and I'll have an annual report in the next couple months, but 2,078 runs for the year, which is an all-time high for calls for service for our department. So calls have increased, probably about another 150 from last year. Most of those are EMS related on that. Received 25 mutual aid, provided 15 mutual aid. We had some training done this past week, or this past month, on just fire and EMS topics, and just kind of wrap up the year. That's really all I have to report. So,
Do we know why the increase?
there's not one specific thing. It's all across the board. The nursing homes, you know, are still very active. They're probably about, between the 4 nursing homes, they're 40% of our call volume. So we get quite a bit out there.
You know, I was thinking about this earlier today, over the weekend, actually. I was at a family Christmas party, and my brother's father-in-law listens to the scanner all the time, you know, I mean, and he was saying how many times we have to call for backup from Southgate and some other stuff when it comes to paramedic calls, EMS calls. And so I started thinking, so I started looking at the last few months' reports from you and the amount, you know, 3 to 4 times as many paramedic calls, but we have 2 fire engines and 1 ambulance, but 3 to 4 times the calls are ambulance. I'm not saying we get rid of a fire engine. I know we got a new one coming that's, you know, has all the bells and whistles and can be combined, but at a certain point, have you ever made consideration for a second ambulance? Or what if ours breaks down? You know, I was talking to Southgate earlier today, and they have a broken down one, they have a backup, right? You know what I mean? So fortunately for them, they do. And
So the Campbell County Fires Protection Association has purchased a spare ambulance for anyone to use in the county. So when ours goes out for service or whatever it is, breaks down, we go out and we use that ambulance right there. We've also, in the past, we borrowed one from another neighboring jurisdiction where, you know, an extra ambulance that they might have, which is nice, so then we don't have to, you know, maintain it or anything like that, just use it as needed. We constantly evaluate, you know, our calls for service, but it all comes down to putting people in the seats too. So that's our delicate balance right there. As many calls as we receive, we do provide that as well. So we'll provide, you know, second calls to Southgate, Dayton, a little bit to Newport, and out to Central Campbell. So it's, you know, we kind of go back and forth. We track mutual aid to make sure it remains mutual and not one-sided for that reason.
yeah, it just, you know, it just seemed like to me, and it wasn't even one about one breaking down. It's just where's the majority of our resources being used in this particular department. It just seemed like a lot of more of that. Even the fire department, a lot of the calls say EMS.
That's right.
You know, like 3 or 4 fires. And all that.
So on the fire truck, we do carry a full set of advanced life support equipment.
Yeah.
So that we'll go on, if our ambulance is out on run, we get a second run, that fire truck goes and they begin treatment until out of city ambulance comes.
Have you ever considered a second or wanted one? You would know the numbers.
Yeah.
I just saw this and they brought it up.
That's always been the slippery slope as far as when it's time to pull that trigger, because it is a pretty good financial commitment to do that. So I think countywide, because the neighboring fire chiefs, we all talk about this. You know, it's a worthwhile conversation, so that, like I said, no one's really getting abused.
That is my concern right
Yeah,
there too.
that's exactly
Overuse of the
Yeah.
system,
Yeah.
just because when does that need versus a one? That's kind of where I'm getting at on that.
Yeah, I don't know that we're there yet. And our population is pretty static, so I don't know that it's going to be anything that's really easy to say, oh, well, if this development happens, you know, now we need to do that. So it's just something we keep an eye on.
Yeah, I thought I was told Cold Springs is down right now, so you guys are helping them out too as well.
That's correct.
Yeah, which jumps.
Is there billing in between all that, or is there?
It's for EMS incidents. We do bill for EMS incidents, yeah.
And they bill us? Anybody that helps us bills us?
They'll bill the insurance company.
No, he's talking about like if we do a run,
Oh.
does Southgate send us a bill for using their?
They don't send us
I
a
didn't
bill.
think
No,
so.
it's
There's a
directly to
mutual
the patient.
agreement, right?
Yeah. And likewise, if we go to Southgate, we'll bill the patient whoever we pick up.
So like when, for example, I've had to write a handful of checks for runs to take my dad to the hospital. So when so the city doesn't get any of that?
Yes, the city, we contract with a billing company called Medi-Count. They do all the insurance billing because it has to do with all the Medicare coding and everything like that.
So that would just be specific to the town that the person's in?
That's correct.
I think.
Thank you.
All right, I entertain a motion.
Motion received and filed. Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Police Department report, Chief?
Mayor, you guys are in for a big treat in February, so I'll have 2 reports to present to you
Okay.
for December and January. It's gonna be a good time.
Riveting.
Nothing that happened last week you want to tell us about?
Sure. some
No
good stuff.
information, okay. So no report, so we don't need to receive and file it then?
Correct.
That's awesome, okay. So now, the fun part, city administrators report, the state of the city report. I always look forward to this.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, so we've compiled all the major accomplishments and projects that we've worked on. But again, I'm going to go through this. We can discuss if anybody has any questions about it, or if you have one I've left off, by all means, let me know. Because it's good to have this running through the years, just so we can kind of track what we do. So it's always a good thing for the staff to work on. So we'll start with some administrative items that we've done. The grant that was approved for the future skate park through the Land Water Conservation Fund, that was approved through the state in June, and still waiting for federal funding that's supposed to happen here in the next 6 to 9 months to see if that grant fully comes through for our permanent skate park. In addition to that, the state legislators last year put together a grant, which I think they're doing just to annoy me, but it's actually called grant. And what that does though is it helps to cover cities for their match for federal grants. So that was applied for, and we received $119,000 towards this other grant. So towards the skate park. So that's a big deal. If the federal funding does finally come through, the state's already approved and is holding $119,000 towards that project. Which
We have to match that? We have to match
No.
the first one, right?
So the first one was a 20% match.
Okay, I thought it was.
So from that 20% match, the state's gonna give us 119, which is actually more than our match for the project. So I'll explain why that all came about, but
Okay,
it's
cool.
a way for us to
I
get more
love
money
that.
and it works. So yeah, we're just waiting for that approval. I actually just got something in the email a couple weeks ago for more paperwork for that federal approval. So that'll be happening here in the next week, and hopefully we'll hear something in the next 6 to 9 months. These don't have a lot of random, or this is probably more random stuff, but we're just going to go through my list here. We did get the gates at Green Street and Pearson painted professionally. I can't think what electromagnetic paint. Electrostatic, thank you. Electrostatic painted. On the people, a lot of these things that, like that, we've done a beautification, you may not notice, but they did a fantastic job and it was really inexpensive. And they did it quickly right before the 4th of July. So that really looks nice there, and that'll be something that'll last for a good 20 years, I'm sure. Almost done with the building remodel that was started before I got here. But we have probably 95% of the AV working now. We're still working on live streaming, but staff's now able to use the system to record, and then we upload the meeting after the fact for all of our boards. So that's been working out well. And we're still have withheld $100,000 from that retainer that won't be going back to Greenbach for all of our hassle. We are continuing the foreclosure process like we started a year or so ago. It's working really well. All the ones we originally foreclosed on have been fixed. We do have a new grouping that we're working on now. We have 3 active, maybe?
Yes.
3 active, which is definitely helping out our code enforcement and putting a little bit of teeth behind what we're doing. So it's definitely been a positive, even though foreclosure is not something we look forward to, but it's definitely something that's been helping us out. Route 8's been opened up. That was a big, long task of working with the state to get funding for that. Not only was it improved and open, but it went without the city having to volunteer to take the street or take the roadway as they originally had asked us to. And it actually didn't even end with an MOU for us to take over maintenance, which is a big benefit. We're still doing that. We're still going after heavy rains and checking the culverts and making sure that's all cleared. We're also giving, we just gave KYTC an update for some of the slippage that's happening right now, just minor slippage up in the upper hill. So we're giving them constant feedback just to let them know what's happening. So hopefully they can address it before it becomes an issue. So we're still definitely maintaining it, but just not financially. So over the year we've done, we worked hard with the school for the sports complex. I went down with Brian to get funding for that. So they gave us everything now, $5 million, 2.5 over 2 years. So that along with splitting our funding, the 517 that council approved, it was definitely helping that out. We had some legislators up here viewing it just to show them what they did with the money and what we're working with on that in the last month or two. So that's been a good project that will be done by the end of this year. I think they're shooting for August. So it seems like it's on track for that. The additional thing we did is we hired a contracted with a historical consultant this year during the UDO process and with DRB and everything. That's been real helpful. Wanted to give board members a little bit more information, but to have a third party kind of taking a look at what the historical nature in some of the projects, and it's been a big help for us. We included the walk your wheel signs throughout town, which has been very helpful. I don't know why I don't have a date here, but I think that was in May. I'm trying to do that, keep all the dates on here. The ladder truck should be arriving late this year. Chief and some of the team are gonna go up to view it. Is it being constructed? Is that what they're viewing?
It's the pre-construction.
The pre-construction. Okay. So they're gonna go up there to talk to build, make sure that it's gonna be built to our specifications and any questions. So that'll be happening here in the next month. Is that right? In a week. Okay. We did order an ambulance last year that should be arriving here mid-year. And that'll be replacing the one that has been definitely struggling over the last year, I guess, going in and out of service. So that'll be a big addition for the fire department. Everybody knows that the pickleball courts, the 6 pickleball courts down at Highland Park, including the improvements to the parking lot and sidewalks, concrete sidewalks that are connecting the rest of the park, were all installed and finished in September. Our annual street program, we completed Covert Run, Gunpowder, Memory Lane, Pleasant Avenue, Winston Hill. In addition to that, we added Hanover Place, just due to the flexibility that we have now. Hanover Place was one that was struggling, and we were getting many complaints from citizens over the years. But it allowed us, when we had some extra funding, to go ahead and make that replacement, which we've gotten a lot of emails from the residents there of having that fixed finally. So that was definitely a nice thing for us to be able to shift a little bit from our program to be able to do that. Additionally, a couple other ones that we did as well as East Villa. We paid East Villa a year ahead because St. Thomas was already doing their parking lots and stuff. And they reached out to make sure that they coordinated with us since that's a city street. During that conversation, we talked to, I think it was Rigler, and asked them about paving that. So while they're paving the parking lot, they also paved the road, which was better for drainage, and it saved us probably about $20,000 at least to be able to do all that at once. So we were able to quickly jump on that due to the funding that we had. Additionally, for the street program, we did some repairs on Mitchell Hill, which were needed. It wasn't a full overlay, but there were definitely some repairs that were needed at the end of that. The city building parking lot was also done along with the same contract that was bid out. And we had another situation much like the one for East Villa on the alleyway between Grandview and Southview when the logistics company was going to be repaving. We also jumped onto that and had them repave a portion of that alleyway that really needed it. And that saved us a lot of money to be able to do it that way as well. So that is a street program that we completed for this year. Again, it was really nice, the flexibility that we had, and we made some really big jumps and saved a lot of money being able to do that. We installed in May the sharers throughout town, and that was, again, a lot of this stuff seems pretty easy, but there's a lot of staff time that goes behind it, getting the state to approve. The sharers, not to their specifications, but to ours, because per their rules, we would have had at least 2 to 3 times how many sharers, and we knew that wasn't necessary. And we were able to talk through with Bob Yeager and work that deal out. But that was completed in May. We have 2 out of the 3 intersections that have the radar changing. So that allows the golf carts and motorcycles to be picked up since they're not heavy enough to activate the old standard pressure switches. So we have the Woodville and Grand, I wrote this wrong. We have US 27 Woodville and Northwood Thomas that was completed. We have Grand and Pentland that was completed. I think Grand and Highland is done, and then US 27 and Grandview will be completed once they fix that intersection that's happening right now. So in the next month, that one should be done. So by the spring, for sure, all those big intersections will have those radar systems on there. And those are all funded by the state. We talked to them about that. They already had a couple of them added for motorcycles, and then we were able to talk them into adding a couple more intersections there, which was good. Park signs, we added 7 park signs this year, which really look well. We got a lot of compliments on that. We obviously did the $3.6 million Tower Park playground that was completed July 3rd. So that worked out well, and all the follow-ups on that have been completed, to include the flagpole being replaced a couple months ago. I think that was the final thing. The water tower was pressure washed, cleaned, and sealed. Again, maybe not something that everybody noticed, but it's a very big difference, and we had that done before the 4th of July parade, and they did a great job. In addition to that, through that same contract, we went ahead and had them do the stone wall that wasn't originally discussed, but during that they were able to clean the stone wall that surrounded that, which really made that area good. And then the ceiling was necessary just for the stones to maintain over the years. We also added 7 kiosks throughout the parks, mostly at trailheads throughout Tower Park and Highland Park. I don't know if we had any at Rossford. As everybody knows, last month we completed the zoning ordinance. So for the next 6 to 12 months, we'll definitely be evaluating that and giving feedback to council. We did a lot of collaboration with Fort Thomas Schools for the sports complex regarding Sargent Avenue. One, pedestrian access there, but just overall the other projects there with the road closures and improving that road there. We did a lot of mess hall upgrades this year. The whole HVAC system was replaced. We did the painting interior and exterior, and the audio was updated as well inside there. So that's stuff that was all completed last year. For the police department, they added 2, all this was funded by council, the 2 e-bikes that were requested. Their CPA, their second CPA class was another huge success. Not only was it good for the participants, but it was obviously good PR for the department and the city.
Police Academy, right?
Police Academy, sorry. Yeah, Police Academy.
It's just, people understand. Yeah. CPA thing, Joe got some.
No, not that kind of, not the boring CPA, the fun, sorry. The fun Citizens Police Academy.
Yeah. A lot better than what you would have to go through, for sure.
Thanks for clarifying that. But yeah, the Citizen Police Academy, so that was very successful. We're about 80% complete on the take home. I don't have to say that anymore. The take home fleet for the police are about 80% complete. They're about 50% complete on the new Axon cameras that go with their tasers, guns, and their body cameras. They are all using the body cameras now, which is a huge improvement, which was funded by council. I believe that was out of cycle too. So the K9 is fully trained last year and functioning well for the city and the surrounding areas. All their Glocks and optics for the pistols were all updated last year as well. The addition, the Cellbrite program, and there's a software. I don't know if we talked about this too much. We did find some savings in some other lines, and the PD went ahead and purchased, with the mine and mayor's approval, the Cellbrite program. What that does is downloads cell phones. There's a lot of, especially now between the schools, especially the schools and other crimes, we have a lot of cell phones that are taken for evidence. And right before we bought our own system, we used to have to go to the county, and it would take up months to get them back, because it is such an important process for cases. So we were able to purchase our own program and system, so we're able to download our own. It gets used multiple times a week, and also we're able to help other departments for big cases that they need to get done quicker. But it's been a huge resource that they've been able to get, and that was all in place in the training last year. The Vietnam Memorial was completed in Tower Park in April. That was a project between Public Works and Vietnam Veterans Association that really turned out well and was done very quickly with very low cost for the city. And it's a nice addition to the Tower Park there. Other beautification from Public Works is the new plinths and light poles throughout the CBD here in downtown. And the plinths are the concrete bases. Again, not something a lot of people would notice, but they get destroyed over time with salt. And it does look a lot nicer, and it is labor intensive, but it was something that definitely needed to be done. Additionally, replacing concrete and paver crossings. If you remember during the summer, Public Works was able to get all that done and really tighten up all the stone pavers that we have throughout town to make the place look a lot nicer. Alexander Circle improvements were completed, and that included regrading, removing a lot of the rock, adding soil to that center, the old parade field. Additionally, regrading and grassing the side of the sports complex, the softball field that wasn't graded properly and wasn't completed. So that all has looked a lot nicer. And a shout out to the fire department for watering it for us for a few weeks because it started getting really dry, and they did some training out there with the pumper and watered the grass. What's that?
They coincided.
And it was,
yeah.
The week I asked, the new guy started, so he was out there spraying water down. So it worked out well. Continuing to do the compost program, but those with the leaves, I'm not sure of council how much you're aware or had visibility on this, but that was a project we started a couple years ago where we brought it down by the daycare, and I was very surprised at how much that had been taken. I mean, it really moved quickly. I was afraid the whole time of having to move stuff back, but it was all taken, and it was a really good program that was working with the Forest Conservancy, partnering with them. And the last thing I have on my list is the holiday lights throughout town. That was a big project. Obviously, council approved that after last year, all the challenges we had with Public Works doing it. To have a company come out and do it was definitely much easier. It was still a lot of work getting the bids there's only so many companies that are willing to do that. But to actually get the bids, to sort through them, and then ensure that electric was at every pole, which was again challenging, and Greg was a big help on that as well, along with the staff, just coordinating between the two. But we've gotten, again, lots of compliments on that. It definitely made a difference through the Midway, through the CBD here, up here by Highlands Methodist, and then the corner of Highland and Grand, the park there, were the main areas, and it definitely made everything look a lot nicer and very nice through the holiday season. So that is my list. If anybody thinks of anything that I left off there.
That's a great list. I love doing this. I love kind of reviewing the whole year to see what we did, because we were all part of the decision making to make this happen. And it's fun to think about the positive stuff.
But I definitely want to, this is 38 things on my list here, but the amount of staff time that was put into this just to manage, to prep, to make sure, to double check that it's being done. In addition to council, listening to me and Joe during the budget season, trying to explain why this is so necessary. I think it was a really good year for us in our spending on that.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for attacking the little things. I think for my time here, and we're an older town, especially with those gates, the wall up there, little things added. Sometimes we look at big picture and we forget we're actually kind of a little picture town when it comes to the quaintness of our city. There are times those little things really do add up. So the little things like the garbage cans, the fences, the way you do them the right way so it lasts a long time. I think it's infectious, like the lights and doing them right. It'll start transitioning farther down the avenues where people will dress up their houses. It was always that saying, I think Mayor Haas would say, people when they pay for their streets, when the streets would get done, also the streets would look nicer, right? So the more we do on the interior, the central business districts, Midway districts really echoes outside of that, man. So I just want to thank you. I know you hired a couple more public works people on to help with the parks, and I think it's really going to pay off in the future, so we can get things done the right way. So thank you. That was a great list.
Yeah, and I second what you said, Adam. I think we had a heck of a year, and that was a great comprehensive report, so thanks for that. And just hats off to all the city staff and all the work that goes on behind the scenes, because it definitely doesn't go unnoticed, but it's nice to, start a year fresh and look back and see everything we've done. It's been a lot of fun. So thank you to everybody who was involved. I just have one question. It's not very important actually, but when you mentioned the pickleball courts, I just noticed within the last couple of days, there's a new fence that went up, and it probably is on the property owner's land, I'm guessing. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's it was professionally done. It's a wooden fence. It's actually beautiful. I love it.
Is that a 3-ward fence?
Yeah, part of it's 2, part of it's 3. That's not city property, I'm assuming? It is.
Yeah, if it's where it should be, yeah.
Well, you can tell that it's close.
Is it back?
I'm sure.
Is it back by the,
It's back by Mickey's house.
the soccer field, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was all, we had that ready to have Mills put in there, the fencing back there.
Well, that's great. I think it's absolutely, really, really attractive to look at, and it adds to the aesthetic down there. I didn't know that the city was involved with that, so.
Yep, absolutely.
Great, all right, thank you. Moving on with the agenda, a special meeting to report for new business, we're down to ordinance resolutions.
I actually have some, I'd call it recent business.
Well, we can't, this is a special meeting, so it's gotta be something we talked about,
Why would we even have new or old business on here?
just because it's the standard thing.
Word
It has to be, for a special meeting, it has to be on here. But if it's something we've talked about that we can work in, then we can.
Is it something he brought up during his thing?
No, it's not.
No. Shoot. Is it related, like really close?
I'll bring it up at the next meeting.
Okay. All right, ordinances, resolutions, and orders.
Municipal order MO 01-2025, a municipal order appointing Christy Doherty as a member of the Board of Adjustment of the City of Fort Thomas, Campbell County, Kentucky, and setting her term of office.
I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. We need another motion.
Sorry, Ben, I didn't send it to you. Can you pull it up?
Yeah. Absolutely. I'd like to make a motion to enter executive session per KRS 61.810. And I believe that's the extent of the information that I have on it.
Paragraph B, for deliberations on future acquisition or sale of real property by a public agency.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what he said. That's what he meant. That's what he meant. All right, that's the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Do we need roll call for that or just?
No.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you all. We're going to executive session and we will come back in when we're finished with that. So thank you all for being here. You're welcome to stay or you can leave. Come back.
When we have to talk about acquiring property, just go close.